I guess I'm curious as you started to surround yourself with these high level thinkers and start to interact with people that really pushed you, did you find that it caused strain on other relationships that you had, whether they were family, friends, or professional relationships? Did you find that it created tension?
I mean, not necessarily tension, but I'm very selective at who I choose. So my wife, a lot of times, she calls me the Reaper because I'll go through my phone and I will literally delete people from my phone if I haven't had communication with you. If there's no added value, I don't care whether you're family, whether you're friends. If there's no added value, if it's a one-sided relationship, I have no problem removing those people from my life. I want to surround myself with winners. They don't have to be millionaires. They don't have to be multimillionaires. They don't even have to be successful. They just have to want to be better than they
Mm.
were yesterday. They have to want to, be interested in personal growth. So I wake up at 4 a.m. and I train with a U.S. Marine. I train 7 days a week. And sometimes I train twice a day. And what I tell people is like, I don't care about if the person in the gym is overweight and not in shape. I care that they get up at 4 a.m. and they're in the gym because they want to better themselves. When I go do a race, I don't care if someone's walking the race, running the race, jogging the race, sprinting. It doesn't matter to me. The fact that you are there is all that matters. So we just signed up with my buddies for a 5K, and one of the guys is nervous, and we're like, dude, I'll walk the 5K with you. Just the fact that you signed up and overcame the fear, because fear can truly be face everything and rise or forget everything and run. And I like the first one, right? I want to face everything and rise to the occasion and just continue to be better. So, to me, it's all about motivation and success. And if you don't have that drive and you're a Debbie Downer and everything is negative, I have no problem cutting that person out of my life because there is no value. I am all about value. I'm going to do everything I can to support people. And that's the way I build my business. So
Yeah.
I want to surround myself with those same people.
Hi, welcome to another episode of the Orlando Podcast. With me today is Kevin Tacher. Kevin, thanks for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here. We've been trying to do this now for a couple of weeks. So, Kevin, we're going to go ahead and start off the same way we always do. Why do you do what you do?
Absolutely. So I was a firefighter actually up in New York. I moved down from New York 20 days before 9/11.
Wow.
And I do what I do because I truly enjoy helping others. It was what I learned as being a fire captain for many years. When I moved down to Florida, I got into the real estate business and I realized there were just so many people, especially down in South Florida. We always say, South Florida is a sunny place for shady characters. So there's tons of people that just don't do business the right way. And I realized more and more as I was building my business that I wanted to just do things differently than most. So my passion is not title insurance. Title insurance is my business, but my passion is truly helping others. I uncover tons of real estate fraud, wire fraud scams, and we just thoroughly enjoy helping as many clients as we can, but more importantly, saving them from the things that you see in the news that are happening to people every single day when it comes to the whole world of real estate fraud.
Wow. Yeah, I know title insurance, title fraud, wire fraud, they run rampant in the industry. And so working with people that are doing the right thing and have good security protocols in place is always a good thing to have. So talk to me a little bit about how you got started in real estate. I mean, you said that you moved down here. What did you have an invitation from somebody to come down and be part of the business, or was it just I'm tired of the New York and the cold and I'm headed to Florida? How did that transition come about?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So my uncle owned a mortgage company down in Fort Lauderdale. Up in New York, I was probably, I just got out of high school and I was just working, I was a part-time firefighter and I had a regular job, but I wasn't making that much money. And he basically said, hey, move down to Florida. The real estate market is booming. I'll teach you how to do mortgages. I just got married to my high school sweetheart, who is the mother of my daughter, who's now 19. And we had a kid, and it was like, let's just move down to Florida and see what opportunities are there. So I took a leave of absence, moved down to Florida, and then never looked back. And the best thing that actually happened to me, which I wrote about in one of my books, is that my uncle truly failed me. He didn't support me. Everything he said he was going to do, he wound up not doing it. But the one unique thing is he introduced me to this gentleman by the name of Michael, and Michael owned a mortgage company. So Michael took me under his wing and was like, listen, I got you. I'm going to teach you what you need to know. He was a truly ethical and high moral valued person, taught me the entire mortgage business, used to send me his clients. And he said, you know what? You're such a go-getter. Why don't you go get your real estate license and I'll send you clients to find a house. We'll work on the mortgage together and that'll be your business. So I started doing that for a little bit. And then we said, you know what? Why don't we just open the title company as well? So we wound up opening the title company. I opened that in 2003. So I was down here just about 2 years. Wound up opening that. So we would kind of handle all three. And I was doing that for a couple of years and through networking, which I'm very big on. I had an opportunity to move into a very large real estate brokerage. And as you can probably tell, to be an in-house title company for a very large brokerage is like finding that white elephant in the room. And that's a huge opportunity. So I had to give up everything else. I had to give up mortgages. I had to give up real estate. It's like you can only do title. I had to sign a non-compete in order to work for them as the title company, saying I won't practice real estate. And that's what I did. And today I'm still an affiliate with that company, and they have about 1,000 agents, and it's a very big feed for my business. And I just truly believe in doing things right and good things happen to you. So networking was the key to my success. And that's the Reader's Digest version of how I made it to Florida, landed, and I'm still doing what I do for 20 plus years.
That's incredible. So I love how in 2 years you were basically part of the three major components of a real estate transaction: the financing on the mortgage side, the acquisition on the real estate agent side, and then the closing on the title side. That's fascinating. I'm going to stay away from that a little bit and focus more on what you said in that the power of networking. So I'd really love to unpack that with you. You said that through the power of networking, you created this relationship with this large brokerage, and now you're the in-house title company for that brokerage. Tell me a little bit about that particular meeting, and then I'm probably going to have more questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's good that you said let's stay away from the real estate side, because I hate talking about title. I hate talking about myself, my business, and title for the reason that most people would rather probably watch a wall of paint dry than talk about title insurance. It's a pretty boring topic, and they don't want to hear people talk about themselves. So when it comes to the world of networking, I was super scared. We know the number one fear of most people is public speaking. They don't like public speaking. A friend of mine, Pete Davidson, who was an ADT representative, sold me the security system in my house, was like, hey, kid, why don't you come to this organization called BNI, stood for Business Network International. I was like, okay. It was 7:30 in the morning at some country club in Pompano Beach. He said, just come down, check it out. No problem. I've never been to a networking event before. I didn't know how to network. I didn't know anyone. I walked up to the country club. I'm an early riser, so I got there probably about 6:30, ready to walk in, and I saw a bunch of people in suits inside, and I freaked out, like shaking, nervous, had no idea what I was doing. May he rest in peace. A gentleman by the name of Paul Efron came up. He was like an addiction specialist, worked with people in addiction, was coming up, and a heavy New York accent. He was from New York, and we got along really well. And he was like, kid, I got you. Come on in. And he literally grabbed me, gave me this big hug, and he walked me into the room. And I was like so scared. I get chills. I get chills right now just even thinking about it. So I walk into this networking event, and there were about 50 or 60 people in there, these business professionals. And I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing, where I am. I'm young. I'm in my early 20s. And I'm like, I knew nothing about being an entrepreneur, nothing about business. But I did know one thing as being a firefighter is that I have your back when others don't. And that's the most important thing that I put into every business I have today, whether it's buying real estate, being a landlord, title business, any business I'm in. It's all about relationships. That is the number one thing in my business. And I learned that by truly having others back when others don't, by going in together and making sure I support them to where they know I have their back, was the success to my business. So through BNI, I wound up building a relationship with a lady by the name of Margie Casey. She was a property appraiser, and she introduced me to her best friend, who happened to own a real estate brokerage. But it's not just that easy, because obviously in networking, you got to build relationships. So it took me 2 years, and people are like, well, what'd you do for 2 years? And I'm like, well, I built her PowerPoint because she used to do these new agent orientations as she would sign agents on. No one knew how to do PowerPoint. So she just asked me, like, can you help me do PowerPoint? I'm like, sure. So I was building her PowerPoint for the title company as well. I did their slides, their commercials, their presentations, put it all together on this PowerPoint. I did it for probably 2 years. Once a month, she'd have these orientations. And then I got that call. And that call was when I was at a very low point in my business. The market was really bad. And she called me on the phone and she said, would you mind being the in-house title company? We had a few complaints about the other one. We did a survey with the agents and we didn't have a great result from the survey. Would you mind being the in-house and moving into our office? I said, when? She said, now. I rented a U-Haul, hired my assistants. She had 5 boys, hired all of them, loaded up a U-Haul, packed up my office, and shifted a little bit south down the road, moved into her office. And that's my success story. And I'm in her office today. Again, 200 plus deals a month, probably about a little over 1,100 agents now in 18 years. No joint venture, which is very rare, as you know, as being in the business. No ownership interest. I am simply there on my merit. I rent office space in their office, and I add value to the agents for many, many, many years. And that is the key to networking, is adding extreme value when others don't. Most people care about themselves. You need to care more about them than you do yourself, and you'll have great success.
Wow. So I wish that story was faster so I could put it all in a reel later on. But what I will say is that the power of being helpful in an area not even related to the business you're trying to capture. I mean, it's sort of related, but really it's more tech support than title, right? And the willingness to do that is 100% what changed, what presented that opportunity. First of all, you were in front of her on a regular basis, right? And just showing that willingness to go do something that was outside the purview of what your actual business was just speaks volumes. And I think people miss that so often. What a great reminder that just find a way to help someone, add value at the lowest level possible, do something to help somebody, and it'll make a big impact.
Yeah, I wrote about it in one of my books. We talked about like the board of directors concept, where we say, they always say, talk about like, LinkedIn and your connections and the 5 people you surround yourself with, you become. So she was one of those I surrounded myself with a bunch of other people. It's actually the painting that's behind me that you see my logo. That's my board of directors table. So you see it here. This was my board of directors table. And I did this little photo that kind of shows you. So this is the lady here. But these are some other people that are just absolutely changed my life. And we look at it every day in our business. And again, it's about I add value to you. You add value to me. There's no expectation for anything in return. We know we're just doing great things for great people. And we are literally making a movement here in South Florida. That's why we're one of the #1 companies in South Florida. We speak at many, many events. And most of these talks have nothing to do with my business. In fact, when I was working with the real estate firm, I wasn't even allowed to talk about title because there was another title company there. So it had nothing to do with me, 100% about you, with the understanding that obviously I'm going to keep giving, and at some point something's going to come to me in return. Right. And it took 2 years, and it did, and it was one of the best opportunities anyone in my industry can ever ask for, because they don't put their hand in my pocket, and right. I simply add value to their agents, helping them become more successful.
Yeah, that's incredible. So tell me a little bit more about building your board of directors. Have any of those people been intentional where you're like, I want to spend time with that person, I need to find a way to get connected to that person? Or were all of these people just folks that came into your life during, from different networking opportunities and kind of turned into those board members?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So one that's standing behind me is my wife. So I actually met her at a foreclosure convention. She was an attendee and I was a speaker back in 2010. So again, wasn't intentional. We didn't expect it. She was a business coach, and I figured it would be cheaper to marry the coach than to hire the coach. My business wasn't great, but I said, you know what? If I marry the coach, then at least I have free business coaching.
Right.
And we laugh about it all the time. The other ones, they're not intentional, because I truly believe that if you make an intentional, there's self-serving belief in that,
Sure.
right? That I'm trying to be self-serving. So one is the owner of a real estate company. The other one is a gentleman I was actually speaking at his event last night, who owns one of the larger real estate investment clubs here in South Florida. Again, he was a mentoring student. So his mentor, that now he coaches people himself, he was the student at that time. His mentor was one of my clients. So we decided to open up a real estate investment club, and I just simply helped him. I don't own the club. I just simply said, yeah, it's a great idea. In the first meeting, we had 3 people, then 5 people, then 2 people, then 3
Right.
people. And now we built it up to 60, 70 people. And the other one, same story. They're all clients. One came in and said, do you know how to do investor closings? So one of the gentlemen were like, do you know how to do these double closings and these flips? And I'm like, no. He's like, well, I'll teach you. You open a learning. Absolutely. He taught me. And now we're one of the largest title companies that handle the investor wholesale flips and simultaneous closings here throughout the state. So, again, these are not intentional. These are all just relationships that are built. And these are people that they want to give, they want to receive, but they give without the expectation of receiving. And we just simply did the same thing. We just give without the expectation of receiving, and it wound up being a win-win relationship for all of them. And that is my board of directors that I had a painting made and signed by everyone.
Hey, before we go any further, if you're enjoying this content, please like and subscribe so you can help us get the word out about these amazing people and businesses here in the Orlando area. Don't miss out on upcoming episodes and help out the show. Now let's get back to it.
Well, that's great. So with your board of directors, do you find that you interface with them on a weekly basis, monthly basis? Is there an intentional connection point that you guys have, or is it really just maintained relationships over a long period of time now?
Yeah, I mean, most of them are my best friends. So the owner of the real estate brokerage became like my mother. A lot of the other ones I talk to on a daily basis. Sometimes it could just be hello, checking in, how are you, send a news article. Again, one of the tips I wrote about in one of my books is about sending constant communication to people, adding value to them. Mm-hmm. So if they're a mortgage broker, you send them some articles about the mortgage industry that you see, just to stay in front of them, to know, like, hey, I'm thinking about you, as opposed to sending out, some flyer about the title business. I'm sending out something of value to you, which shows I care about you. It's not about me. So, I've come up with lots of these strategies over the years. Now, obviously, these board of directors are dear friends of mine. These are the type that, you call me in the middle of the night and I'm going to say, where do I need to be? No problem, sure. Whatever you need. So, it takes time to build those types of relationships, but I've been doing it 20 years. But they're selected and included in my board of directors for a reason. Right. These are people that believe in the things I believe in. They're entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. They want to build businesses and they do business the right way. So you do have to be selective who you're choosing, but you want to make sure it's a win-win for everybody. So you're not there just sucking everyone dry like at most events. We're there to literally add value, to help each other grow, to help each other be successful, and most importantly, to deal with the challenges. So you want to find someone who can add value to your challenges. So you name a challenge in your business and let's work through it. Like, let's sit and work through these challenges. And I'll never forget, one of the most important challenges was the owner of the real estate brokerage. She said, oh, well, we're going to do 50, 60, 70 closings a month. And I said, you know what, I'm good with 25. And she said, if you're good with 25, you're not the title company for me. I was a little kid. What did I know? I was like probably 26, 27 years old. So I didn't know what 100 closings looked like. But it was that turning point in that conversation where she said, that's not okay. That's a limiting belief and that's not okay. So those are the types of things that our board of directors has created in us, because then imagine we launched our business where it was 3 of us. Now all of a sudden we have, 10, 12, 15 people and doing 100 closings a month. So, it launches your business to a different level by having people that will hold you accountable that you don't see in yourself. And I encourage people to do that personally, professionally, spiritually. Have people around you that will elevate you to a new level, to places you didn't even think you can go.
Wow. Yes. Thank you. You can repeat it all again if you want. Maybe we'll just play it on loop. I could probably use it in the background of everywhere I go. I guess I'm curious, as you started to surround yourself with these high level thinkers and start to interact with people that really pushed you. Did you find that it caused strain on other relationships that you had, whether they were family, friends, or professional relationships? Did you find that it created tension?
I mean, not necessarily tension, but I'm very selective at who I choose. So my wife, a lot of times, she calls me the Reaper because I'll go through my phone and I will literally delete people from my phone if I haven't had communication with you. If there's no added value, I don't care whether you're family, whether you're friends. If there's no added value, if it's a one-sided relationship, I have no problem removing those people from my life. I want to surround myself with winners. They don't have to be millionaires. They don't have to be multimillionaires. They don't even have to be successful. They just have to want to be better than they were yesterday. They have to want to, be interested in personal growth. So I wake up at 4 a.m. and I train with a U.S. Marine. I train 7 days a week. And sometimes I train twice a day. And what I tell people is I don't care about if the person in the gym is overweight and not in shape. I care that they get up at 4 a.m. and they're in the gym because they want to better themselves. When I go do a race, I don't care if someone's walking the race, running the race, jogging the race, sprinting. It doesn't matter to me. The fact that you are there is all that matters. So we just signed up with my buddies for a 5K, and one of the guys is nervous. And we're like, dude, I'll walk the 5K with you. Just the fact that you signed up and overcame the fear, because fear can truly be face everything and rise, or forget everything and run. And I like the first one, right? I want to face everything and rise to the occasion and just continue to be better. So, to me, it's all about motivation and success. And if you don't have that drive and you're a Debbie Downer and everything is negative, I have no problem cutting that person out of my life, because there is no value. I am all about value. I'm going to do everything I can to support people. And that's the way I build my business. So
Yeah,
I want to surround myself with those same people.
I loved what you said about how fear can rob you. And I've seen it in my own life. I was afraid to try and get a real estate license online because I had this limiting belief of not being a good student. And when I just told myself, okay, well, I'm just going to have to try to figure it out. And if I fail, oh well. And I didn't. And that fear had kept me from doing what I do now and doing what I'm passionate about for 8 years. I waited 8 years because of fear. So it can rob you of a lot of time and a lot of joy if you let it.
I coach a ton of real estate agents, because that's kind of my business model is I coach a lot of agents, help them become more successful. And hopefully, obviously, they're going to use us for their closing services. And one thing I always tell them is the more successful agents have failed the test multiple times. Whether it's the real estate salesperson test or the broker's test, they failed it multiple times, maybe 1, 2, 3 times before they passed it. But meanwhile, they have this great drive and they're entrepreneurs and they're go-getters and they want to. So it's like, imagine if they just gave up. These are people who didn't give up. The ones who the test is super easy and they fly through the online course and they pass the test, no problem, they do nothing. And then they wonder why they're, a $20,000 a year agent as opposed to $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 agent. And we teach the same in our real estate boot camp. We teach a wholesaling real estate boot camp, and we teach the same thing to people. Like, you are here, you have an opportunity to make $100,000 on a deal when you're not even making that in your own business. You have to literally work 2 years in your business to make that same $100,000 that you can make on one single deal if you want it bad enough. And I think that's the key, is you have to want it bad enough. Like you regardless of any part of your life, whether it's making your relationship work, your business work, your kids, you have to want it bad enough. And if you don't want it bad enough, you're never going to get it.
Yeah. You do. You have to want it. And that's very true. I mean, I had a very strong why. My daughter was going to be born and I wanted to stop working for someone else and trading my time for money. And I needed to find a way to do that. And, getting a license was a tool to help accomplish my financial goals. I didn't intend to become a real estate agent. That happened by accident. But I wanted to have access to tools, and having a license was a tool to help me reach my goal on the investing side of things. So I've been enjoying asking this question of folks lately, and so I'd like to get an idea from you. I assume you read. Since you're into personal growth, I assume you read or listen to books. Would that be a correct assumption?
I will do audio, so I listen to audiobooks, but more importantly, I have a very short attention span. So I do more the shorter podcasts and
Okay.
stuff. So I like to listen to a lot of shorter stuff that can give me tools and techniques that I can implement today. Like, give me something in 5 minutes and let me go work on it today, as opposed to let me listen for an hour and a half and try and get one or two nuggets out.
Gotcha.
So that's what I like to do.
Okay. So I'll ask it in two different ways. Do you have a book that you think every entrepreneur should read?
Yeah. So, I mean, the book that changed my life is The Go Giver by Bob Berg.
Mm-hmm.
He lives right up in Jupiter, Florida. That's a whole nother story for another day. But I hired him. My last $5,000 on my credit limit on my credit card, I hired him when things were really down and out. He taught me some great networking techniques. But he's such a genuine man, and he's become a dear friend of mine. I mentor with him now, and I will speak at some of his events and talk with him very often. So his book, The Go Giver, it's a little red book. And then he has a few more. Go Giver Sells More and a bunch of others. But the little red book, The Go Giver, is probably the number one book. It's a short little read and honestly changed my life. Once you learn his 5 laws of stratospheric success, and he has a book called Endless Referrals. If you combine those two together, that can create a massive opportunity for anyone's business, no matter what they're in.
Yeah, awesome. And yes, great book. So then I get the second part was going to be, do you have a podcast you suggest people listen to?
Yeah, so my favorite podcast, who I happened to come upon a couple of years ago, a gentleman by the name of Patrick David, who actually just moved here not that long ago. He has a podcast called Valuetainment. Valuetainment is everything for entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. So a lot of his podcasts are shorter. His new podcast called the PBD podcast are longer, like 2-hour, more like Joe Rogan style, where they're talking about lots of different topics. But if you go to his YouTube channel, which is Valuetainment, you're going to see thousands of videos on there, and a lot of them are short, but it's all driven to the entrepreneur. It's all driven to the one that is either an entrepreneur and intrapreneur, not the employee, not the one who needs, this nonsense motivation, not like a Tony Robbins where, I'm going to build you emotionally. He wants to build you from a success level as being a business owner. And I came across it. I actually had him on my podcast. I have a great interview on one of our shows. So we interviewed him. We've been to events with him. And just ironically, he happened to move. Literally, I could walk to his office from my office. So we communicate often with his team, and just a wonderful podcast for people to watch. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, because the tips and tricks and strategies is coming from a guy who's built a multi-million-dollar business and honestly just doesn't care what you think. He really doesn't care. He just wants to tell you the way it is, tell you what's working in his business, and he doesn't care what you think. You either like him or don't like him.
Sure.
But his tips are great for the one who wants to be a lion in their business. They're the one who wants to be the leader, the entrepreneur, the successful person. That's the one that he's targeting.
Cool. Very fun. You've mentioned a couple of times your book. Tell us a little bit about your book. Name of your book. Where can people find it?
Yeah, so everything's on Amazon. You can Google me on Amazon. I've actually authored 8 books. My first one was back in 2009 called Title Insurance Tips and Secrets. There's another one called The Tidal Wave of Real Estate, and one called Sold. Those are the real estate books. And then I have some business books. So I wrote one called Rescue Your Business, which talks about the financial downturn in the market back in 06, 07, 08, when I was $750,000 in debt, and some of the strategies I did in order to build myself back up instead of failing. I faced everything and rose and figured out, it's okay to fail and how do you become more successful. So I wrote that, not realizing I launched it as we were going into the global pandemic. So people used it across the country to motivate them and inspire them to become better. I just launched my most recent one, which was called Operation Leadership, which were the strategies from training with the U.S. Marine. So some of the strategies that the U.S. Marines put into their daily business, I connected what he does as a fitness trainer to what I do as an entrepreneur, combined them into strategies together, and some of the things that the top entrepreneurs in the world are doing on a daily basis. One being getting up early, fitness, eating right, checking your blood work, just becoming an overall successful person. So that was the most recent one. I have one that's going to be coming out here soon called the CEO Playbook. Again, just something I enjoy doing. I enjoy launching these books. I enjoy coaching on them, teaching on them, speaking on them, because I truly believe that givers gain. And the more I give to you, the more education I give to you, the more inspiration I give to you, the more successful you'll be. And if you're in the real estate game, hopefully you're going to be like, I need to find a way to do closings with this guy just because I need to. I don't know why. I just need to. Like I need to come in his office because I want to meet him and I want to talk to him. And that's what people do. They come in and just love to engage in conversations. And like I said, title is just one of my tools in the toolbox, but there's so much more value to what we offer in the industry, which is unlike anyone else that I've seen. There's no title company that they're sitting and talking about how to make you a better entrepreneur. Like that just doesn't exist. They're normally working their business and how do you send me more business? And we're like, no, forget about the business. Let me make you successful and let me inspire you. And then once you're inspired and you're successful, then the business will come.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. Well, this has been such a great conversation. I've really enjoyed hearing your story, and I feel like there's a lot more story in there, I'm sure. So folks will have to go pick up some of those books to hear more of it. But thanks again for spending some time with me today. Kind of last thing, if you were going to give one piece of advice to an entrepreneur, what would you tell them?
Value your relationships. That's what I tell everyone. Value your relationships like they're gold. Don't burn your bridges. I'm good friends with people that are in my industry, other title attorneys, title companies. I'm friendly with them. I talk to them all the time. There's no such thing as competition. It's always collaboration. There's enough business for everyone. So value those you surround yourself with, whether you work with them, you don't work with them, friends, family. Just value the relationships and make sure you're totally above board, morally, ethically, every single day. Just go out and serve others. And truly, if you serve others with the right intention, great things will continue to happen to you. So I appreciate the opportunity to hop on this podcast. It's always great to share my passion. Again, I hate talking about the real estate world, but I love talking about life and entrepreneurship and success because I've been in a dark place that a lot of people watching this podcast probably are at some point in their life. Whether it's the pandemic, whether it's the rising interest rates, the economy, whatever it is, people sometimes are just in a dark place, and I love taking them out of that dark place and just showing them why there's such a great opportunity in this world that we live in. You just got to want it bad enough.
Yeah, love that. Awesome. Well, Kevin, thank you so much again for being on the show today. And thank you to everyone that tuned in and listened this far. We'll see you around Central Florida.